It was amazing how nobody could predict Don's encroaching fates, but yet it had been anticipated for so long. As he lay in what Twilight prayed was not his deathbed, a strange sense of recurrence, familiarity, déjà vu even, filled her old veins. It was like seeing Princess Celestia that one last time before she and her friends hopped on the train back to Ponyville. How cold and sickened she looked, how lifeless and disease-ridden. Yet, inside, she was as strong as ever. Unfortunately for Twilight, the strength kept within the depths of Princess Celestia were not enough to liberate her from her prison, and she ended up paying the ultimate price. Now the same thing is happening to Don Lemaire, her husband, as she preferred to address him, her lover, her sweetheart, the father of her one and only beautiful child, the painter whose charisma made him extremely likable, sociable, and friendly, was now in a bed, his back erected as he sat up, and his eyes as weak and pale as his fragile-looking skin. It appeared just to be an extreme case of the flu or something. The doctors ran several tests on the stallion. His disease was not able to kill him, at least, not yet. Until the ticking of his final clock, the stallion would remain either conscious or unconscious in his lonely bed, and barely breathing, whether or not he was dreaming. Twilight either sat at his bedside or stayed with him in bed the whole time. Anacornia understood. She too spent much time with her dying father, but being with a family of her own now, Anacornia had other responsibilities, and could not be there as often as her mother did. Twilight was told to let Anacornia know immediately if his condition grew any worse. It was not. However, it was not getting any better, either. It was as if Dawn had been stricken with an incurable disease which would fester in his bloodstream for the rest of his days. It would be his ultimate killer. But at this rate, that could be years from now. Could he just get out of bed and live his life as he were not sick? Why should he not live out the last of his life in happiness and not in pain? And again, what was the point? He did not have the energy to live the life that he would want to, even if his life was reduced to sitting on a stool in front of every one of his many canvases and painting a picture of his beloved wife from memory while she spent time with her daughter and her family. He knew Twilight would take care of him. One fateful evening, Anacornia was called in by her mother. As she suspected when she got the call, Don's condition had grown worse. A new, more prominent, more powerful disease had been discovered in his heart. No doubt it was heart disease, nature's bitch. It's taken only a handful of ponies since its first recorded cases. Quite unusual, but those who were diagnosed with heart disease were as good as dead. It was only a matter of hours before their bodies just gave. Twilight and Anacornia, no longer nicknamed Little Anna since she was fully grown and as big as her mother, remained at Don's bedside for every one of his final hours. Although sickened, weakened, and definitely dying, Don gathered up the strength and energy to give one last sweet goodbye to the two mares in his life he loved most of all. Seeing those two together at his final moments filled him with unimaginable joy. They would be the last things he would ever see, and he could not be happier or more content about that.
Girls,
He croaked.
I'm afraid there's the last words I will say to you.
Tears already started forming in everyone's eyes. Don's, however, were not of sadness, but of happiness.
I have lived a long, healthy life with you two, and I would stay up until the last minute, as I was filled with unparalleled merriment. But that isn't true, for I still feel unparalleled merriment.
He coughed.
Sure, I'm sick as a dog, and I have to croak any minute. This illness is not your fault. It's not anyone's fault. There is no blame to put on anyone. The only fault to assign. I'm happy, elated. The last moments here could be spent in the comfort of this warm bed, in the presence of my beautiful, wonderful, loving wife, my fantastic daughter.
He coughed harshly. Tears began dripping from Twilight's and Anacornia's eyes without stopping as they sniffled.
Anacornia,
He continued weakly, even weaker than before. She put herself before Twilight at his bedside.
you're a miracle child. You've exceeded my expectations for what I would want my daughter to do with her life. And I know you're going to do much more. afraid I won't be able to witness that excitement. But it warms my weary heart just to know that you're happy and with a family of your own who loves you.
Don't try to give his daughter a kiss on her horn. He was too weak to move.
I cannot be prouder of you, nor more content that this is the life you live as I die before you.
He coughed again. Hack.
Twiley, my dear, dear Twiley.
Twilight put herself before Naconia again at Don's bedside, as they were when they arrived.
You have given me over 60 years of happiness. You've given me a beautiful daughter I cannot love any more as I already do. I can't imagine that the night we first kissed would change my life forever and send me down a path I can never imagine. And the luckiest, happiest time in Equestria, to be married to the most wonderful unicorn in the world. I cannot imagine a better marriage, nor more fulfilled life than the one I spent with you. I am crushed that you and Naconia have to witness my death. That is something I never wanted to put you through. But since I have no choice, we'll make it as painless as possible.
Coughed again. He would give one last kiss to Twilight's horn, but of course was too weak to do so. He hacked and gagged. Time was running out. He coughed. Yes, Don? Very softly.
Can you promise me something?
Of course. Anything, Don. Anything.
Promise me, no matter how long you live, you will try to find happiness, even if I'm not there to provide it. After you've moved on, promise me you'll not spend the rest of your days in misery and woe over me. There could be hundreds of years at this rate. I don't want my passing to be what you remember of me. I don't want you to spend the rest of your days suffering for something we have no control over.
He coughed for seconds.
Promise me.
Of course, Don. I promise. Don cracked a big smile.
And both of you, please remember that I love you more than anything in the universe.
He coughed harshly again.
You do my world, no matter how long you live, no matter how much time passes. You will be my world and my life. We both, as its vast universe, as unconditional as the sun. Hundreds of years from now,
As Benjamin coughed in desperate breath for air.
that fact will not change.
Another violent cough.
Sad or merry, I must leave you now. Goodbye.
Don gave a weary breath. His eyes closed for the very last time. Her daughter was not well. No disease spread through her system, for she had simply grown old into her 90s. And now Twilight Sparkle would see a parent's greatest fear, the death of their own children. And Naconia lay in her bed, her face almost as wrinkly and her skin almost as pale as Twilight's was when she was visited by that ugly unicorn. She was definitely dying of old age. For months now she had been complaining about her arthritis. She coughed often, and she found breathing difficult. She started to experience night terrors and would just stop breathing briefly in the middle of the night. Her mother took action from the first volley, and now Naconia staples the mask over her muzzle to keep herself breathing through the night. She still wore it now on her deathbed. Her heart and lungs were starting to fail her. It was only a matter of time now. Mother? Naconia spoke weakly. Yes, my baby? Mother asked, tears in her eyes. She coughed. I think it's my time. I know, baby. I know. I just sniffled. It was hard for her to talk through all the tears she was shedding. It's not an easy thing for me to accept. Don't accept it. And Agonia gave a sad smile through the oxygen mask. Just acknowledge it. She coughed. Sure, there's nothing you can do. It's not your fault. It's not anyone's fault. You don't have to accept that this is the last you ever see of your baby girl. Don't have this be what you remember of me. Don't have the scene of me coughing and wheezing to a mask be what you remember of me. She coughed. You sound just like her father. Agonia smiled returned. That was a good call. I always knew just what to say. Then I hugged her daughter.
Please, don't do that, Mom. You're crushing my lungs.
Let me go. Sorry, sweetie.
It's okay. You know,
She coughed and wanted to reveal her lungs affair.
of all the ways I can die, this is one of the best. Because the last thing you get to see is my own mom. I usually don't get to see that.
Joy started weeping helplessly.
I'll tell you one thing. If I die in your arms, and you're trying to hug me, I could ask for a better way to go.
Joy leaned over on Agonia's bed again and gently hugged her. I love you so much, Anaconia. And Agonia gave her one last smile to her mother's crying face as she embraced in a hug.
I love you too.
To this day, no one was sure whether it was the hug or simply the clock of fate which ended Anaconia's life. But everybody does know that if it was the hug, that was a much more preferable way for her to go down than that stupid clock. Twilight retracted the hug and realized her little girl had finally moved on.
Goodbye, Anaconia.
She wept, collapsing at the foot of her daughter's bed, her head flat against the sheets as she cried. Through the tears she uttered the words,
I'll never forget you.
3 years ago, about a strange-looking and particularly ugly unicorn claiming to be doing a report about her visited Twilight in her suite in Counterclockwise Castle. She has hardly seen his face since. She's barely left her quarters and prefers to spend her life in desolation. For centuries now, ever since the death of her husband and the death of her daughter, she has been in mourning. There was one big hit to restore after another, along with her many friends who she hasn't seen in years. They spend their days in the ground, also deceased, right alongside the graves of her loved ones whom she will never see again. The only time she even ventures outside is to maintain her life support, or perhaps pay respects to her friends and family again. As she grew older, the need to take care of herself grew too. She was spending more and more time keeping herself alive and less time attempting to move on with her life. She still considers herself to be in the mourning of the ponies whom she loved more than anyone. There was no pony closer to her than those two, and even friends she grew up with in her teen years, before the great disaster. Of all the things she has long forgotten in her centuries of acquiring information, her friends, her old friends, are the one of the very few things which have never left her memory banks. She remembers them as if she had just spoken with them yesterday. Sadly, it has been over 800 years since she has seen them last. She can barely even remember her own name, or that the place beyond her free forest is named Anaconia, or that she is considered to be Equestria's most significant pony. She still remembers their faces, their manes, their eyes, even their names: Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Rarity, Rainbow and Applejack. Twilight, though secretive about her many miserable thoughts, made her own husband a promise. If she could move on with her life, perhaps find a new husband and start another family of her own, and have the love she received from her old family be rekindled with her new one, she wouldn't be happy, and would make do until her clock finally stopped ticking and she gave in. Perhaps even before her new family would pass away, so she wouldn't have to deal with the broken-hearted misery of losing another family. Unfortunately, she was incorrect about that. As a matter of fact, she had been incorrect 3 times. Don was only the first husband, then there was Moondust, and 2 sons she had with him. After their passing, she married Darkstar, and had a son and daughter with him. Finally, still going strong and desperate for love, she married Daybreak and had 2 daughters and 1 son. They've all been dead for years. But it's not Daybreak, Darkstar, or Moondust she remembers well at all. In fact, she probably doesn't remember remarrying at all. She remembers Dawn and Anacornia perfectly, however. She remembers the party at which they were first acquainted. She remembers the conversation they had the night when they first kissed. She remembers having Anacornia, raising her, and watching their family grow. She also remembers their deaths as if they happened yesterday. And, unfortunately for Twilight Sparkle, it is these events which loomed in her mind and haunted her day after day. For some reason they stuck with her like superglue. No matter how hard she tried, their deaths would not leave her thoughts. She would spend many years alone, wondering why they had to go in the first place. Why didn't she cast the age retardation spell on them? They could have been one big, happy, long-living family together. Now they aren't even a family. She is one. She has given herself all this time, what feels like many eternities, just to pass the mourning period and move on with her life. Between her overwhelming amnesia and memory loss, and the undefeated reminiscences of her deceased original family, Dolly had failed to keep with her promise. Her next move, she knew, once someone realized that she was still breathing and to check up on her again, as a few of the doctors do from time to time, would have to have it look like an accident. It will go down in history that Twilight and Cora Sparkle did the unthinkable. No one would understand if she could ever explain to them. They would berate her with questions and interrogate her to death anyway. She got the middleman on that question. Quickly walked over to her desk and wrote a long, heartfelt letter goodbye to everyone. To whom it may concern. By the time you read this, so I've already moved on. My body is failing me. I believe that the next time I close my eyes, I will be closing them for the last time. I am sore. I am weak. My memory, my strength, my energy, and everything I had when I was young has disappeared with time. And as time moves on, I will grow more pain and suffer all the more. I cannot imagine anybody would want me to be suffering. So it is with a heavy heart I declare my death, and just wait for time to come. But in a few moments that I have here before my anticipated passing, I have to say a few final words to a loving few who set out in my life. First, there's Princess Elisar III. I met down on her great-granddaughter. If I had the energy, I will walk up to her and give her one last hug. I would also like to send my gratification to her mother and her grandmother, especially her grandmother. She was the one I owe my marriage to. She was the pony who introduced me to Don by encouraging me to participate with him at the party. To this day, I remember our first kiss. I barely remember my own name anymore. Go, Princess Elisar III. Thank you for your mother, and especially your grandmother, some love in my honor. Second, there's Don. He meant the world to me. If I ever did remarry, and I don't even know, there is no doubt in my mind that no marriage or bond could ever have been so perfect. No husband could ever be a substitute for such a loving, wonderful, caring stallion as Don proved himself to be. I am glad to have been there for his passing, very thankful that such an event ever had to happen in the first place. Goodbye, Don. I know I probably said that and gave your deceased cheek a kiss when you died, but since I'm no longer going to be around, I feel another goodbye is proper. I hope you find it in your large heart to forgive me for breaking the promise I made to you on your deathbed, and I hope that the next time I see you, you'll be as welcoming and light-hearted as you were when I saw you die. I love you, Don. Next is Anacornia, my precious daughter. Several generations of grandchildren and girls can finally be found and traced back to you. I want you to know that, even though you are gone, you have not been forgotten, and, more importantly, I haven't forgotten about you. You are the greatest thing to ever happen to me, even greater to be marrying the stallion you call Dad. I cannot be prouder of you, and more pleased with what you have done with your life. I'm sure now, centuries later, you are the same happy, healthy little girl I gave birth to. Goodbye, Anacornia. I know I told you that when I saw you pass, an experience I know most parents don't have to witness. But, like I said with Don, I'm thinking that the proper farewell is acceptable, since I will no longer be here, and no longer inhabit the cruel world which took your life. Lastly, there's my friends. I don't mean Cloud, Fuji, Bounce, Ambrosia, and Gracie. I mean my first friends, Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Fairy and Fluttershy. I don't remember the first 5 very well, and memories of them had disappeared with time, but I remember the second 5 like it was with them yesterday. After all these years, I've not forgotten about them. I still remember Applejack claiming victory over the Flimflam brothers and winning back her farm. I still remember the disastrous Green Out Bengala. I still recall we made Ash adopting Tank, Timmy's birthday party, our quest to restore the 1,000-year-old Crystal Empire, our triumph against Discord, the state of reformation of Fluttershy, Burr's wedding, and the greatest adventures of childhood and adolescence Apollo could ever imagine. I know you girls are probably looking down on me right now. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. You all love having adventures and swimming across here from annihilation. Don't let my absence hold you back from your own adventures. There are no elements of harmony where you are, but there still is a spark. And that spark still glistens in your eyes, even years after you all have moved on. This day, the spark glistens in mine, but it won't be anymore, because I'm afraid this is farewell. Before I go, I just want you guys to know, of all things I can still remember about my life as a young mare, our first acquaintanceship with the 5 of you, and the spark of our friendship is what I remember most, and what I will always remember. Nothing keeps us apart. Not time, not life, not death. As long as I remember, and I always, always will, they say the most important events in your life are the ones you remember most. You guys with everything in me. Farewell. Signed, and with love, Tight they call us Sparkle. With a letter written, Colette neatly put her into a scroll, left it wrapped on her desk. She returned to the center of her bedroom. She took a last deep breath in and closed her eyes. Her weak, delicate horn, which withstood the test of time, turned white with a layer of magic which covered it. Several streaks of light went bursting from the tip of her horn. Colette's whole body glowed, sparkles of magic and energy soaring around her. A bolt of magic formed at the tip of her horn. In a moment she had undone the age retardation spell which kept her alive this whole while. The magic merely receded from her horn, stopped glowing. The sparkles dissipated from view. Her last tear was shed as her wrinkled eyes grew weary and lifeless, and she quietly collapsed to the ground.